this Huskee LT 4200 today, taking a look at it. Customer brought it in and says it'll turn over just fine, but it will not start. Think it's a carburetor issue or something like that. Well, it's far from a carburetor issue. We'll check that out and show you just what's going on here shortly. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as we go along if you enjoy the content. We're going to show you how to diagnose and repair this pretty quickly if you have this issue. Powermore 420cc engine. No air cleaner cover. This is exactly how it came in. Not sounding so hot. You can see out of the intake, all we're getting is popping coming out real quick. And all I smell is starting fluid. What these people will not tell you is that they tried to start it on starting fluid. And what's the first thing you want to check before you try doing any of this? Check the oil. They also didn't tell you that it was ran completely without oil for who knows how long. There's no signs of an oil leak. And there is just a tiny bit on the bottom of that dipstick, but basically nothing. This engine, for all intents and purposes, is ruined. You would want to replace this engine if you wanted this tractor to work again. Otherwise, I'll show you how to fix it and get it back running real quick, but it's not probably gonna last. The two kids that brought this in, they're two young and ambitious kids. I'm gonna pull this valve cover and see if there's a stuck intake valve, because that's what it seems like to me from what we're seeing. I'd like to at least be able to get them to the point where they can clean up their leaves for the fall, at least get a couple more mows in and a little bit more cash before they have to replace the mower or the engine, however they're gonna do it. Sometimes as a young kid, you've got to learn your lesson. Check the oil when you're trying to operate something before you operate it. Got our O-ring there. It's perfectly fine around. Look at that right there. You can see clearly that this intake valve, it doesn't look like it's coming all the way back out. That or the rocker arm is not pushing in on it at all. Get a little better angle for us. So again, as we turn it here, you can see that the exhaust valve, that's the, okay, so the intake valve I believe is at the top. So as I turn it here, you can actually see that the exhaust valve wants to push in, but it's not. The intake valve does actually push in. So I'm not sure with it popping out the intake like that. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but I do know that this bottom valve is either stuck. I hope it's not stuck. So that push rod seems like it could be bent. Now that valve isn't stuck at all. It's actually okay. The push rod is actually okay also. No issue there. So what in the world is going on here? There's our problem. Look at that. The rocker arm itself has actually split. That's why it wasn't engaging the exhaust valve in order to open that. The rest of it looks good. Probably just got hot at some point, and it probably got hard to push in the exhaust valve because it was so hot at some point when it heated up because of having no oil in it that it broke the rocker arm. I'm gonna grab another rocker arm. We're gonna throw it on real quick and get this thing back working. I thought for sure I had a rocker around here, but apparently I didn't. Got one ordered, just got it in. It's like a 14 on the bottom and a 10 millimeter on the nut to hold it in place. That loosened up to get this installed. That thing is just completely snapped. Got the new one. I'll put the part number down in the description also. So that's going to be a 12 millimeter. Yeah, that's definitely not loose. It's in good shape. Neither one of them looked like they had backed out, but figured I'd check while I had it off. Get our plug out and out of the way. Wow. It sure is in there. Go ahead and put our push rod in. Rocker arm, rocker nut, just going to tighten that about down to where we think it should go, somewhere in there. We're just going to check to see where the piston is, and we're going to bring it up all the way to top dead center of the compression stroke. So if you stick something down the spark plug hole, when it comes all the way to the very top, all the way out when it's all the way up, if both of these valves are loose, then you know you're on your compression stroke. The intake valve right now is tight, so I know that this is not the compression stroke. I need to come all the way around again. If both of these were loose, that would be our compression stroke. This isn't quite tight enough. Tighten it down a little bit. Go all the way around. Piston's coming back up. All the way out. So the piston is all the way out as far as it can be, and this is going to be our compression stroke. If either one of these is tight when that happens, it is not your compression stroke. On the intake, you want 5 thousandths. That's way too loose. We're going to have to adjust it also. But on the exhaust, you want 7 thousandths. Anywhere from 6 to 8, they say, and 4 to 6 on the intake. So here we're actually almost right where we should be. Well, we would be almost right where we should be if we actually had our piece in. Forgot to put our piece back in here. Honestly, almost forgot that I even took that out. Just want it barely to go in there. It should fit tightly, should not be loose. Oh, perfect. If I can get that tightened down right there. Get a socket, make it a little bit easier. Let's see where we're at. It's a little tight. I'm gonna have to loosen that up just a bit. Just gonna go loose just a tiny bit because I know it's right there. Tighten that back up. Still too tight. Start over one more time here. And you're actually just going to hold your 14 in place, and you're going to tighten the 10 millimeter against it. It's the proper way to do it. That's how it should be. It should be tight to go in there, but it should not be, either way, should not be pushing. Shouldn't have to force it in. It should slide in, but it should be tight. Let's do the intake valve now. Since I'm taking this off, I am going to go ahead and check to make sure that that rocker stud is tight. Again, that's a 12. It sure is. Again, we're going to go to 5/1000ths on this one. If I can get those out of here. 5/1000ths. Just great. Fits nice and tight in there. Not too tight. Now basically what they want you to do is they want you to go all the way around, and they want you to come back to top dead center on the compression stroke again. And then they want you to recheck the valve spacing to make sure that it is good. Five thousandths. Good there. 7/1000ths. Probably just a hair tight, but I call it good also. Put this all back together. And that's just to ensure that you got them set right before you go turning over the engine. Normally I'd probably replace the spark plug. This one looks pretty good. I'm just going to spray it off with some carb cleaner. Clean it up. Now all we got to do is get some oil in it and see what happens. I'm not going to put a ton of oil in it right now because I am going to drain this oil again. I'm not going to leave it like that. Not quite finished draining down yet. Looked way high still. It is within our operating range. So that's going to be enough to get it started. After we run it for a few minutes, I will end up changing that oil again just to make sure any of that metal shavings or anything from running it low will get out, and we'll also change that filter for them while we're at it. Let's see how this thing runs. So there was obviously at least a little bit of oil left in the bottom of that, even though it wasn't registering at all on the dipstick. Getting nothing. I think actually on this one you have to be sitting on the seat, so let me go ahead and pull the leads. All I can smell is starting fluid right now. Definitely not too good. Seems like that choke may be sticking on a little bit. Let's see what happens when I... I've honestly seen this a few different times with these Powermore engines. They don't fare too well a lot of times when they're ran low on oil. This is a cylinder leak down test 5609 made by OTC. We're going to see exactly where the compression is being lost at. Valve cover so we know where our top dead center is. If I had to guess, we're probably losing the compression on this back through the rings. Right there at top dead center. And screw this in. Hook that up and get some air hooked to it. Sounds like it's coming through the oil for sure. It is. We're at 35 pounds. Yeah. It's just pouring into the crankcase. It means the rings are completely bad. That's why we're getting the air directly out through. And I've got almost 100% loss. Yeah. Guess not quite 100% loss, but yeah, out of almost 90 pounds, I'm only getting 18 that it's holding. The rest is going right through the rings and escaping into the crankcase. This engine, unfortunately, even though we tried to save it, is junk. Kind of like we thought it may be. Well, unfortunately, these kids are going to have to find them another engine or another mower to finish up their mowing season this year. That's unfortunate. Sometimes you go with a project and think, hey, maybe this will work. That's why your initial diagnosis and your advice that you're giving customers a lot of times is worth way more than continuing down a path that you know is probably not going to turn out the best. This one's still leaking oil all over the place because of being pressurized. Unfortunately, this didn't work this time, but at least we show you how to adjust the valves, how to do the leak down test on this engine. Hopefully this helps somebody out if they're trying to get their Powermore 420cc engine back into working order. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed the content, or ring the bell if you want to get notified every time we post.